Owner versus worker. How to make this shift that is critical between success and failure. Now, this is going to be one of my favorite lessons in this series because this is one of the most life-changing lessons that I've ever received. And many people, it's sad, in the whole world don't even understand this, especially if you're trying to start a business or you're trying to get rich or wealthy, you want to follow your dreams as a music producer. This is critical to your success because many times we start trying to succeed at something, building a music production business and all these things, without first taking a look at ourselves and seeing that, are we the type of person that will create a successful business? Because your music production business will only be a reflection of you. So we got to make sure that we understand that our thoughts, feelings, and actions are going to determine the results of our music production business. And if you struggled in the past, not getting to where you want to go as far as your music production career, the type of money, the type of success, then this may be at the root of your problem. And when you go through this, it's going to really open your mind and blow your mind at what's possible for you and what has possibly been holding you back all this time. For me, I was trying different things. I was coming up with different stuff. I was implementing good ideas. I had the strategies. I had the techniques, but it just wasn't coming together for me. And so this was a completely shift in who I was that really turned around everything and created success in my life and in my businesses. So I'm going to walk you through this process, and it's going to be a game changer for you. And I know that you're ready to jump into just some techniques and strategies. How do I get more traffic? But we got to start from the beginning, the foundation of what creates success. And most people have no clue. And so that's why 95% of businesses fail. So imagine that. That means there's 95% of the businesses that open up have no clue why they're failing, and 95% of the business open up don't know this stuff here. And you're a music producer creating a music production business, so you're a business owner now. And I'm gonna walk you through these scenarios, and it's gonna create a transformation in your life and pretty quickly as well. So owner versus worker. Now, understanding the owner versus worker mindset is critical to success as a music producer. There are two completely different worlds, okay? These are two completely different worlds. And the way you think, feel, and act are completely different depending on which one you are. So if you're an owner, then everything that you think, feel, and do is going to be completely different than the worker, okay? It's very important, and this is a mindset. And so if you try to bring the worker mindset and being successful as an owner, it will never work, and you'll always struggle. Now, every successful person knows it's 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. But most people foolishly believe it's the other way around. So I got that from Tony Robbins. He talks about how success is 80% psychology, 20% mechanics, meaning that 20% of the mechanics of getting traffic and the technical side of what you do in your music production business, 80% of it will be your own personal psychology, and that determines your success and how far you will succeed. And so most people foolishly believe that it's 80% of the mechanics, and they don't even think about the psychological part and the inner part. And that's all, man. I mean, that's so big. It's most of it. That's most of the battle. But we don't get it because we weren't trained that way. So I'll get music producers who will tell me, man, I don't need none of that mindset stuff. Man, I just know how to sell some beats. You see, now that's a fool because they think that they already know what it takes to be successful. If they knew, they would already be doing it, not seeking things out. And so they've been trained that way, and that person will struggle for the rest of their life until they become enlightened to the fact that, wait a minute, there's some things out here that I do not know. And this isn't hidden information. I mean, it's all the successful people that they talk about this. I take courses on business, high-level courses and success, and they all talk about this stuff. But the average person is just a worker, and they have no clue that this is what's controlling their success and their destiny. So it's very important that you pay attention to what I'm teaching you here. And this is high level stuff that you're not going to just find floating around and on free YouTube videos, because most people don't know this. So we're going to understand mindset for a second, okay? So mindset is a set pattern of thoughts, which leads to a pattern of emotions, which lead to a pattern of action, which lead to a pattern of results. So this is very important to understand. We hear people talking about mindset, all this stuff, but you got to be very specific on what that actually means. We're not talking vague woo stuff out there. We're talking about something very specific. We're talking about the thoughts you think on a daily basis, right? You continue to think over and over again. They lead to a certain way that you feel about things. And we're going to get into all this. And that leads to a pattern of action. This means how you act, what you actually do. And what you actually do leads to a pattern of results. That means the results that you get. So I'll give you an example of how you can see this. I always like to use fitness as an example because it's very clear in that world. Like, let's say a person is, 200 pounds overweight. So they're like, they should be 180, they're like 380. They're very obese. If we look at what's happening and why they're obese, we go back to, okay, what are they doing? Well, they're probably thinking to themselves every day, I'm fat. And they're probably thinking negative thoughts about their body. They're thinking negative thoughts about something, which creates these negative emotions within them. And when they get those negative emotions, that leads them to eat even more, right? They start feeling bad about themselves, and then the sugary foods and all that stuff starts to make them feel a little bit better through adrenaline spikes and whatnot. So they start eating boxes of ice cream, etc. So then that pattern of action leads them to get even fatter, right? And then that leads to the results that we talked about. And so this happens over and over and over again for them, year after year. So what happens if they were to change that pattern of thought? What if they start to say, you know what? I'm going to be healthy. I am healthy. I can do it. It's possible for me. I can be successful at weight. I can look good. I can look trim. I forgive all those that have trespassed against me. So the negative anger and stuff begins to release. And they start to have that pattern of thought, right? Now they start to feel more inspired, like, you know what, I can do this, So what will happen? Well, they say, you know what, let me put down this bucket of ice cream. Let me eat a salad. I can do this. Then they say, let me put on my running shoes. I may not be able to run a mile, but can I walk around the block? Can I just take one walk around the block? And they start to think like that, right? And they take a walk around the block. And then the next day they just say, you know what, let me just walk a little bit more. I can do this. So you see how they change their thoughts. And then the emotional state started to change. And that led to their actions changing. And if they keep walking, keep eating salad, you're going to look up and they're going to lose 100, 200 pounds very quickly. And they're going to look good again. And that happened to somebody close to me in my life, my sister. Same, I watched it happen. Her lose 100 pounds in a few months. Because she shifted the thoughts and the thoughts that she was thinking made her feel different about herself. She took different actions, and then the results in her life changed. So when you look at your music production business, when you have a certain set of thoughts trying to be successful as a music production business, and it leads to a certain way of feeling about things, and then you start acting a certain way, you do take certain actions and you don't take certain actions, you procrastinate or you do things that aren't necessarily leading to your success, and that pattern then leads to results. You're not seeing the success in your music production business that you thought that you should have or know that you should have. And so what happens is these patterns can stay there forever. So you can be 50, 60 years old. That's why you see 60 people 50 and 60 still dealing with the same issues, same health issues, obesity at 50 years old, having heart attacks and strokes, or being broke and not being successful, been trying things here and there and still can't quite get it together because we're dealing with this. You understand? And that's why this video is so important, because we're going to deal with the mindset that creates success automatically for you and the mindset that will hold you back every single time. And I'm going to show you how to shift that mindset. So results are the outcome of any attempt. Just to be clear, what the results, when we say results here, we mean the outcome of an attempt. So, let's say you're eating ice cream, the result of that would be you're getting fatter. That was the outcome of your action, right? And let's say you want to lose weight and you start eating salad for 10 days, you look at the results and you say, okay, I lost 5 pounds. That was results of this action or these attempts at these actions. So that's what a result is for us. So our consistent results are a direct reflection of our mindset. So if we're getting a consistent result, then that means that there's something that is stuck in our thinking, a pattern of thinking, which then leads us all the way to feeling the same things and doing the same things. And like we talked about, this can last for a lifetime. Like I said, you'll see people 50, 60 years old dealing with the same issues they were dealing with when they were 20. It's a sad reality, but it's because they don't understand this stuff. And I remember I had a producer recently he told me, like I said to you earlier, I don't need this mindset stuff, all this stuff, man. Just tell me how to sell some beats. Now, see, that's profound ignorance. So I felt bad because I said, man, this guy didn't even know. And by the time he's 50 years old, he's going to be struggling with the same stuff, because in his world, he thinks he just needs to take a little more action. If he just learn how to do a little this, a little that. And it's really deeper than that. It's so much deeper. And I never knew, even myself when I got started, how deep this went. But fortunately, I was blessed enough to be humble enough to listen to people who already had the results that I was looking for. And I trusted, I just did whatever they said. They said it was this mindset stuff, then I started to look into it and change this stuff. So this is very powerful stuff, because this is ultimately the results that you're receiving in your life. You're going to become aware of why that is, and then how to change them to get the results that you want. Why is this important for you as a music producer? Because you want to create a successful music production business. And if you've never done it before, that means that there's things that in patterns that will hold you back, and you won't even be aware of them because they will be subconscious. So I'm going to make you aware of those mindsets, and then the new mindsets that you need to install to guarantee success, and success that you can only imagine. Now, warning, do not undervalue the importance of this in the success of your music production business. I just want to give you a stern warning that you may feel like you don't need this. Like, what is this stuff? Or this doesn't matter. And I'm telling you, you will live a life of struggle if you do not understand and apply what you're going to learn in this course, in this lesson. Okay? That's why I started off with this. You have to have this if you're going to see success. Let's dive a bit deeper. Okay? How to apply this concept to achieve lifelong financial freedom as a music producer. So we're going to look at how, okay, this is good theory, mindset, all that stuff. You've heard it before, but how do we actually apply this to our life and apply right now to achieve this success? So this is what I call the owner versus worker. Okay. Now, the moment you decide to become music producer full time, you also made the decision to move from worker to owner. All right. Now, owner is someone whose primary income comes from ownership of property. Example, real estate, business, intellectual property, etc. So your primary income is going to come from your beats, which is intellectual property, the selling of your beats, and your website, which is property as well, digital property. So you're going to be making, your primary source of income is going to come from property. That's different. That's called an owner. That's different than a worker. But see, a worker is someone whose primary income comes from working a job or trading their time for money. So that's very important to make that distinction and understand you're making a jump. So your primary income will no longer be coming from working a job or trading your time for money. Now, the owner and the worker are two completely different people. The way they think, act, and see the world are in direct opposition to each other. Okay? So what I mean by that is the way the worker sees the world, the way they act, the way they think is completely different than the way the owner thinks. And you have to understand that's law of polarity, law of opposites. Of course that would be, because if they thought the same, acted the same, did the same things, and they would be the same. There's a reason why there's a worker and there's owners. There's a reason why, because they have to, by laws of nature, be completely different. Otherwise, it would be the same. There would be no distinction between the two. Now, if you attempt to be a successful music producer, but you still think, feel, and act like a worker, you will always struggle. Always. Because again, to make your primary income off property is a completely different skill set, completely different way of thinking and doing things than when you make your income off of working a job and getting paid every other week. So in order to go from being a worker to a successful owner, there are some serious mindset shifts that need to occur. And I'm going to give you them in this lesson. So you're going to learn the shift that you need to make in this lesson. Now, before we dive into how to transform from a worker to an owner, let's look at the vastly different results each one experiences on average. So this is on average. Like, I'm not saying every worker experiences all of these or every owner experiences all of these. But what I'm saying is, if we took the average person that's a worker and the average person that's a successful owner, you're going to see that this is primarily what their life and lifestyle is like. Now, here's the worker. They generally struggle to make ends meet. Generally, not all the time, but generally, they're always trying to catch up with debt, etc. Right? They live paycheck to paycheck, meaning that, once they get paid, they spend their money or whatever the case may be, but they got bills and they need to get that next paycheck in order to keep going to the next. And it doesn't really matter how much money they make. You can have some people that make, you know, $20,000 a month, live paycheck to paycheck. Some people that make $2,000 a month, they still live paycheck to paycheck. It's this cycle of when you get paid, you spend it, or you have things you have to do with it, and you may save some of it, but ultimately, if you lost your paycheck for 3 months, you'd be in serious trouble, right? So that's what that means. You need that next check to come for whatever reason. Workers try to save some money for retirement, so you find them talking about 401ks or saving up, you know what I mean? So one day they can stop working. They won't have to work a job anymore. They can then, quote unquote, retire, right? The worker gets told what to do and when to do it, okay? So they're essentially always, you know, looking to somebody else to give them direction, right? And if they said, hey man, you know, I want to go on vacation for 3 weeks, the boss or the manager or whatever can tell them, no, you can't take that off. I know my wife had a friend of hers who wanted to go to an event, and her friend had to, you know, give her job a notice, like, hey, I'll be out these days. I mean, this particular day, and she told him in advance, like 2 weeks in advance. And the day of the event, her job tells her, you know what? No, you got to come in. You know, we didn't have anybody to cover your shift, so you got to come in. So you see, that's being told what to do and when to do it, right? And they have no freedom. So, and that's not freedom, right? So she wanted to go to my wife's event, and it would have been very valuable for her to go, but she couldn't go because the job told her, you know, you can't do it. We need you to come to work. Your income is limited to how many physical hours they can work. So basically, if you're a worker, your income is going to be limited. Let's say you make, you know, $20 an hour, $30 an hour. Well, how many hours can you work this week? Either physically or by law, right? If you can work 60 hours this week, fine. But ultimately, there's only 24 hours a day, 8 hours you got to sleep. So even if you work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's the most amount of hours you're going to be able to work. And at that point, you probably physically would break down, right? So your income is going to be limited to how many physical hours they can work. That's the limitation. Workers generally live in fear of stress of possibly losing their secure job. So, you know, it's a weird thing, but it's like, it's this undercurrent of they're always in fear, because if they lose their job, their livelihood is going to go away. So there's this undercurrent of fear there that surrounds a worker. So they go in late, they can't make it to work, or they're having trouble with their boss, and something happens, and the boss is wrong, but they don't want to get fired. So they'll deal with uncomfortableness and putting up with crap because of that fear, and that leads to stress, right? You ever see people come home and they tell you about, man, my boss is such an a-hole, and that's stress, right? But the reason why they won't leave is because they don't want to lose that secure job. And generally, workers are perpetually in debt, and even if they get out, they will get back in at some point. So basically, working a job, people, like, you say you buy a home, like, you'll never be able to buy a home cash, like $1 million home, right? Most homes on a salary, unless you save up maybe for 20 years and can buy the whole thing, or you live in the middle of nowhere. But generally speaking, workers are going to have to, if they buy a house, they're going to have to get a mortgage. And then you look at, some people say, hey man, I worked hard, I paid off all our credit card debt, we have no debt. But I always say it's funny, because if you keep living a worker's lifestyle, at some point something's going to happen. You have medical bills, you have, you know, things start happening. You need to get a credit card real quick because you need to get a payday advance. So life can happen at any time. So they may spend, 2 years scrimping and scraping and finally get out of debt. They say we're debt free, we're not going back into debt, and then life will have to happen to you, and you won't be able to cover it because you're working check to check. So at some point, workers, it's designed to keep, this whole economic system is designed for the workers to be in debt, because the economy, in generally speaking, it costs more to survive than you're going to make on a paycheck. And then you have life events that may happen that are unforeseen, and it don't necessarily have to be negative. Just something that, maybe a wedding, somebody gets married, that's $10,000-$15,000, wedding ring, and all these different things can happen. So worker generally is perpetually in debt. Let's move over to the owner. Let's look at the difference between the owner. So, and I want you to start to hopefully create a scenario in your mind. I'm teaching you the way this economy works, and ultimately your position in it. And if you're the owner, you know, in some sectors we call them the wealthy owner or the rich owner. If you're a rich owner or a wealthy owner, then your life is completely different. And this is the life of the owner experiences. They have no problem with bills on time and early. So they can pay their bills because it's excess of money. It's no thing. You know, if a bill comes, they just pay it. You know, a lot of times it's on auto pay. And they pay early. They always have an abundance of money and more than enough income. Again, we're talking owner. And don't mistake owner for someone who just has a lot of money, because you can still be a worker and you know, you can be a basketball player. You're still a worker, right? You're not an owner. You're not making money from assets. You're still trading your time for the money to some extent. So be very clear about that. So you may say, well, I saw a rapper go broke or an athlete go broke, and they couldn't pay their bills because they're not an owner. They're making money still from their physical work. A rapper does shows and gets paid. That's still working, right? He's not making money off of an asset, off property ownership. He's making money off working. So I want you to be very clear that just because someone has a high income doesn't mean they're not a worker. So we're talking about an owner who always has an abundance of money and more than enough income. And an owner also, they're trying to get more money to expand. So where the worker, their goal with money is to make enough to finally retire, the owner is like, I'm trying to expand. So like you want more money because you want to expand your studio. You want new studio equipment. You want to be able to make even better beats, more beats, more money so you can spend more on advertising, get your music production business out there. You're always looking to expand your empire. So that's what the owner's doing, right? That's why people in the real estate, they say, okay, I own 20 houses that I'm renting now, but now that they want more money because they want to, I want to get 50 houses, right? I want to get 1,000 units, you know. It's like that expansion. So the owner thinks completely different than the worker. The worker is trying to get money to save for a rainy day or for retirement or for whatever. The owner wants excess money because they're like, I want to expand, right? You see the fundamental difference there? The owner does what he or she wants when he or she wants, period. So you're going to do what you want when you want. Like there's no, I got to go talk to a boss and see what they think about it. I can get on an airplane today and just fly anywhere I want. It doesn't matter. I have nobody to check into. In fact, I have one of my best friends just took a year off. He's rich. He's a rich owner. And he took a year off with his family and they just traveled the world. They visited 36 countries in 1 year. 36 countries. Flying different places and just living a life. Pictures all over Egypt, from Australia to all the different monuments of the world. See, your worker can't do that. They got to go back to work. All right? They do what you want when you want. Has a very high degree of freedom. Like I said, that's freedom. High. It doesn't mean that you're ultimately the freest person on the planet, right? Because we do have to abide by laws. We pay taxes, right? So what I call it is you have a high degree of freedom, though, because I can choose to get on the plane. I can choose to move to a different country. I can choose whatever. So yeah, I will have to. There are some agreements, society agreements that, I'm not 100% free, where I can't pay. I don't have to pay no taxes. I don't have to abide by any rules. I can do what I want to, and hurt people. No, there are rules to society that I'm agreeing to abide by. But the degree of freedom in which I experience is much, much higher than a person who works. Income has no limits. We talked about that, right? So if you have a music production business, you can make $100,000 in a year. You can make $100,000 in a month. It just depends on how many beats you sell. But there's no physical limitation because your beats are selling 365, 24/7. And you can have people buy. You can sell, if you sell to 10 people a day, or you can sell 1,000 people a day. It's no difference. It doesn't take any more physical labor. So that's the ultimate. One of the main distinctions is there's no limits on your income at all. And they live in a lower state of fear, stress, and worry. So it doesn't mean you don't have any stress. It doesn't mean you don't have any fear. It doesn't mean you have any worry, right? We're not going to live in fantasy land, right? I have stresses, I have worries, but it's a lower state of fear, right? It's a different type of stress where it's like, I can't pay my rent. Oh man, I got to go in. I hate my boss. That's a different type of stress than like, okay, well, man, what am I going to do with this advertising? I got to think of a new advertising campaign, or I'm going in the studio with such and such, man, we got to make a hit, man. Hopefully I do good. See, you still have some stress, you have a little bit of worry, a little fear, but to the degree in which a person that's a worker, it's not even close. And that's something that they don't tell you. We all experience these emotions, but to the degree in which we experience them is way more when you're a worker than when you're an owner. And the owner has no bad debt. Because what's the point? You have abundance of money. Now you have good debt, such as you may have a business loan, you may have real estate loans, but you don't have bad debt. And so when I said debt as a worker, they have bad debt, right? Bad debt is you have high interest, stuff. You pay it yourself. It's on credit cards and stuff like that, and mortgages, car loans, right? So an owner doesn't have any bad debt. Now, again, they may have a little, right? Again, don't get me wrong. I want to be realistic with this, but in terms of like, really, you don't see an owner with much bad debt. And I know many people that just have no debt. They just don't have any debt, any bad debt. You know, one of my owner friends, you know, I don't have a worker. I don't know a worker that's not in debt, with bad debt to some degree. I just don't know one. Another thing about the owners, they're very optimistic. They're continually inspired by new ideas and possibilities. So you'll know when you're talking to an owner because they'll be talking about, man, there's so much opportunity here now. You know, like, man, I got this new idea, right? And you probably, you know, experience some of that yourself, right? So those are the qualities of a worker and owner. So what you'll notice is that as a music producer, you have some qualities that are in both categories, right? But the main financial ones are probably in the worker category. So what I'm saying is, you're a music producer, so you probably said, okay, some of the owner stuff, that's me too. I am optimistic. Some of those things you experience, but you also have those worker characteristics as well. And that's the problem. You know, the main financial ones, you're probably still in the worker category. I mean, what we want to do is we want to create a way so that way you can live the life of an owner, right? And that's fine now, because we're going to completely shift your mind to the owners, so you can create success for the rest of your life. Now, owner versus worker. Let's really do, quickly do a self-assessment, right? Quick self-assessment. Growing up where your parents are guardians, workers, or owners. Mine are both workers, right? Both my parents are workers. Growing up where most of your family, aunts, uncles, etc., older cousins, were they workers or owners? You know, it's crazy when I was doing this process again and showing you this process, typing this up, it really like amazed me getting to think like, yo, all my family are workers. I grew up in a family of workers, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody. Were just workers, and it was just natural. No one thought about really, maybe tried a business. My dad may have tried a business here and there. He tried a resume service, but it ultimately failed because he was a worker. And he didn't understand that it's required. You have to leave the worker mentality alone and move to an owner. So you have to understand that. So it's just, look at your family. Like, did you grow up around a bunch of workers and everybody's workers, right? Here's another eye-opener. Growing up where most of your friends' parents, workers, or owners. That's deep. So when you went to your friend's house where their parents, owners, or workers. I said, wow. Oh, my friends' parents were workers too. And it was amazing when we start to get this idea. You go, wait a minute. You start to see that awakening, like, oh, that's all I saw. So that's what I become. That's the way I think and feel and act, because that's what everybody around me was. It's deep. Now, if you answer the worker to most of these, then you can see why your thoughts, feelings, and habits come from, or where they come from, rather, excuse me. You can see where your thoughts, feelings, and habits come from. Very, very deep stuff. See? So it's not you necessarily, but it's been ingrained in you. And if you look at the lives of your friends' parents growing up, not now, but growing up, your aunts, uncles, your parents, what were they like? They struggle a lot with money. I mean, what kind of conversations did they have? Were they always talking about stuff is expensive, or they can't afford that, or they ain't got the time, or I got to go to work and all? See, how did they live? Were they free? Were they traveling the world for a year? What were they doing? How did they live? You see, it's very important you understand that. And a worker will never build a successful music production business. So if you're a worker, because remember, the way you think, feel, and act, your habits are completely different. So you'll never be able to build a successful music production business if you're stuck in the mentality of a worker. Now, before we move forward, let me say this. There's nothing wrong with being a worker. It's just a choice. Both my parents are workers, loved them. My grandma was a worker, my aunt. Hey, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with it. You have to look at people and say, hey, man, you're just a worker. I don't look down on anybody. That's their prerogative. That's the way they choose to live, right? I chose not to live that way. A person can also have a great life as a worker, right? Just depends on what you value. My mom is a worker, right? And she liked working, and she had a good life. But for me, I value freedom. And I want the freedom to create the life that I want. As a worker, I can't do that. So simply put, I'm choosing to be an owner. I want to go in the studio when I want to go in the studio and make music. I want to be able to get on a plane when I want to get on a plane. I want to spend time with my family when I spend time with my family. I don't want to have to clock in. I can wake up when I want to wake up. Do what I want to do. Have an idea and create it, implement it right there and there. That's what I want to do. You know, I want to have the freedom if I want to go to the studio for 7 days. Screw going to work. I ain't got to call nobody and say, let me take vacation time. I'll just go do it. That's what I value. So the worker at just what I wanted in life just could not fit into a worker's life. It just won't fit. And vice versa. Maybe what the worker wants, they want secure, steady paychecks. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to have to come up with new ideas. They don't want to have to do all that. So then the worker life is good for them. They say they'd rather have somebody telling them, you know, structure their life for them and telling them when, what they can and cannot do. That's fine for them. It's not for me. So let's transfer the transformation. Now it's time to transform you to an owner from a worker. Okay, so now you say, I'm aware now. How do I make, because right now what I want you to start becoming aware of how you've been a worker and the people around you have influenced you, and you've probably never really been around owners like that. Imagine how different it would be if you grew up and all your family were owners. Think about that. It would be completely different lifestyle, completely way of living. Everything you touch would be successful. Now, transformation. Let's talk about this. To go from worker to owner, the way you see the world as it pertains to money, business, economy, all have to completely change. So we're going to have to change the entire way you see the world. Okay? Because the worker's world and the owner's world are completely different. And they cannot coexist. So the owner and the worker cannot coexist inside you. It's one or the other. And so what I find is that workers default for most of us. So if we're not going to be an owner, we're going to be a worker by default. So unless you grew up around, like I said, all owners, then you're probably going to default go back to being a worker and the way a worker thinks. You know, my default way of thinking is as a worker, not an owner. Now, if you're choosing the owner, awesome. Now I'm going to give you the key changes in thinking that you will need to make. So the first shift, when we talked about thoughts, we show how the thoughts patterns lead to the emotional patterns, lead to the action patterns, lead to your results. So the first thing we have to attack is the thinking, or the way we think, because what we think shapes how we see the world, and how we see the world then determines what we will do and how we will do it in the world. Very powerful stuff, and we program as kids, and then we just live with that conditioning for the rest of our life and live a horrible life. Now we can change this though. Okay. Now change comes from awareness. The first step, you have to become aware of how you have previously been thinking that's holding you back. Okay? So the first thing you have to do is not try to become an owner. You have to say, how have I been previously thinking that makes me a worker? Well, how have I been thinking like a worker? How have I been acting and behaving like a worker? So first we have to become aware of what we're doing and how we're thinking. And then we can transform into becoming an owner. So then, like I said, then you become aware of the new thinking you need to have to set you free, right? So once you become aware of what's holding you back, then we have to say, well, what should I be thinking? How should I be acting? How should I be feeling? And that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get started with your transformation, right? And again, you may say, why do I do all this? If you stay a worker, I don't care how much knowledge you get and what you try, you'll always fail as a music producer. You'll never reach the level of success that you want to reach. Trust me. Now, the thoughts and what we quote unquote perceptions. Now it's time to become aware of what has been holding you back from succeeding as a music producer at the highest level and how to change it. Okay? So the shift, owner versus workers. Now we're going to deal with money. We're going to deal with how the worker thinks, that means your current thinking, and then how the owner thinks, which is going to be the new way you're going to see things. And when you put it all together, it's going to create a new you and a new life, okay? So the worker, first thing is, their thoughts are this. Money comes from working, trading time for money. My time is limited, therefore my income is limited, therefore my life is limited, okay? That's how the owner thinks on the same subject. Money is created by exchanging value with others. With the internet, I can exchange value with billions of people on the planet without exchanging my time. Therefore, my income is unlimited, and therefore my life is unlimited. Now, see, I'm giving you the logical progression of the thought process. So ultimately, you are unlimited. That's how an owner thinks about money, and ultimately relates that to their own ability to be, do, and have what they want in the world. It's no limits. The worker is always thinking about how limited they are, right? So think about that shift. Now, the worker, if I want to make more money, I have to work harder and longer hours. Have you ever thought that? Have you heard people say that? Now, that will hold you back from being a successful producer. So the owner thinks like this: if I want to make more money, I need to use my brain to come up with more creative ideas to sell more while working less. Now, you see the shift is very important. So whereas the worker, they think they have to work harder or more hours. That's what they do, right? They say, man, you got to go harder, man. I'm going to make some more money. I got to go harder. Or I got to go, instead of putting in 5 hours, I'm putting in 10 hours. Man, I'm putting 20, a team, no sleep. You see, that's a worker mentality. Even people who think that they're successful or they're hustling, they're going to go get it. You look back, and when you hear that, it should trigger, oh, that's a worker. See, as an owner, if I want to make more money, I say, man, you need to come up with some new ideas on how to sell more beats today. I'm selling 50 beats, every day, but how do I get to 150? What can I do to get to, see how I'm using my brain now? I'm not talking about let me put in more hours. There's nothing to do with that. I'm trying to come up with more creative ideas. You know what? What if I did some YouTube ads? I've been doing Facebook ads. What if I did some YouTube ads? Okay, what if I optimize those ads to where, I really got them working. I found the best ads that work and stop running the ones that don't, and really start to dial in and put money behind those ads. See, I'm coming up with ideas, right? And I said, while working less. Okay, how can I do that in a way that I don't have to put in more hours, right? Okay, well, what if I hired somebody? Oh, what if I hired an advertising agency, an online ad agency, where they do all that for me? They charge me a fee, but that's okay because they'll be getting me way more sales. So see, now how I just thought about how I can make more, but now I can work even less because I'm not physically doing the ads myself. I'm hiring and outsourcing out a company who's an expert at that already. You see that? See the difference? You have to make the shift. Okay, let's keep going. The worker's mind. Money is limited. This happens underneath the surface, like it's subconscious. So you may not even be aware of it consciously, but it's operating in your mind. Worker, money is limited. And since money is limited, rich people must be evil and greedy because they are starving. There are people starving. The people are starving because the supply of money is limited. The rich people are taking too big of a slice of the limited pie, so they are leaving the crumbs for the rest of us. Very, very detrimental, but common mindset. And what we're doing is I'm giving you the logic, okay? The reason why people are starving and homeless or whatever is because the supply of money is limited. See, it goes back to that money is limited. They're not thinking, well, maybe it's the person's mindset. Maybe it was something else that had to do it, but in their minds, because money is limited. So if money is limited, that means if you're rich, if you have $10 million in your bank account, that means you took too much of the slice of the pie, and that's why there's not enough. See, so they see it as almost like a pie. Like if I put a pie in front of me, there's only so many slices. There's 10 slices of this pie. So if I take 8 slices and there's 100 people, then there's only 2 left for the 100. So if I was less greedy, I would just take my slice, 1 slice, and it would be enough for everybody. But that's not how money works. Money is no limitation. There's infinite amounts of money. I can have $10 million. You can have $10 million. It doesn't matter. You see? There is no limitation. If I can have $100 billion, doesn't stop anybody else from having millions of dollars. Doesn't make anybody else less poor because the supply of money is unlimited. There is no limitation. So you have to understand the logic. So the root idea is that the money's limited. And no, if the money's limited, rich people, if you have more than your fair share, you're hurting other people. This is their ultimate mindset, which holds them back and makes them feel very negative because when they think about having money, because they don't want to, who wants to hurt people? Essentially, the idea is that if I have more money, if I'm more successful, I'm going to make someone else poor. I'm going to make someone else starve. I'm going to make someone else homeless. The mind, if it holds that belief, it definitely won't allow you to go out and create success and create money, because it's going to create too much pain for you emotionally. Now here's how the owner thinks. This is how you're going to transform that. You're going to think money is unlimited. You start with that premise. Wait, money is unlimited. So since money is unlimited, everyone can have as much as they choose. You can have as much as you choose. Rich people are rich because they provide the most value to other people's lives. Think about it like this. If you made $500,000 this year through selling beats, how many lives did you impact? You impacted a lot of different artists. They were able to buy your beats. They were able to express themselves through music. They were able to create great songs they could show their friends. You blessed a lot of more people. If you made $10 million with your beats, you probably touched even more people. You touched millions of people with your music. So the more people you affect, the more lives you change, more value you give to people, the more money you make. You know why Steve Jobs had all that money? Because all of us were impacted by Apple phones and Apple iTunes. We all benefited from that. They impacted billions of people's lives, and so they made billions of dollars. See, and there's no limit. So if you want to make more money, just think, how can I impact more people's lives in a positive way? How can I give more value to people? See, workers think completely opposite. So people are starving because there are far too many workers, not enough owners. That's why people starve, right? Ultimately, we need more people to think like owners, because when you create success, right, you're going to hire more workers, right? Let's say you got a music production company it's doing $5 million a year. You're not going to do that by yourself. You say, hey, I'm going to hire some workers. I'm going to outsource, hire some people to run my ads. I'm going to hire an assistant to answer my emails. I'm going to hire an engineer full time. You see that? So those people have jobs, and now the workers are able to make money. But if everybody's a worker and there are no owners, there's nobody to put the workers to work. And then because of that, there's not money to be made. And people are going to starve and go broke and be poor. So the answer isn't to become a worker and make less money. The answer is to become an owner and get as rich as possible and successful as possible, so that way you can hire other workers and they'll have work to do and they can make their money. See what I'm saying? So you see how insane it is to think that if you aren't successful, if you're getting richer, you're making people poor? No, if you get richer, you're making other people richer. The workers need you to be successful. We don't need no more workers. We got enough of them. Okay? And that's why we all struggling. It's like if we go to a city, there's nobody there. But there's tools, there's things that we can use to survive, there's food to distribute, and everybody there is a worker. And there's nobody saying, you know what? Let me put stuff together, let me create ideas and say, okay, how can we put this together? How can we make this work? How can we distribute this? See, that's the owner thinking. The workers just want to get put to work. Okay, tell me what to do. So someone has to come and say, okay, I'm going to tell you guys what to do. I'm going to show you guys what to do. Okay? I want you to do this. I want you to do that. That's the job of the owner, right? So the thinking work, and because they own it, they get to make most of the money. But at the same time, they take most of the risk. If your music production business don't work, the workers still want to get paid. You may not make a penny. So the person who takes the most risk makes the most money. And you as an owner always takes the most risk, right? So you got to understand these concepts, because if you have any of these worker mentality in your subconscious mind, these beliefs, you'll sabotage your success subconsciously for the rest of your life when it comes to being a successful music producer. Now that's when it comes to money. Now we're going to talk about owners versus workers, self-reliance, right? So this is very big. Now this is how the worker thinks. This is their mindset. My life is controlled by outside forces. God, destiny, the stars, my parents, my job, my friend, etc. Whatever is happening in their life is controlled by outside forces. That's why they're always praying, like, send me a blessing, or God help me, etc., because what they're really saying is that it's not me that controls what's happening in my life. It's some outside force, other people. Other people determine whether I'm successful, and the stars have to align, and all this stuff with my parents, and all this stuff. And that's the way they think. So their life is always chaotic, and they never can really get it together because they think they're not in control. The owner is the complete opposite. They think my life is controlled by me. My thoughts, beliefs, habits, actions control the results of my life. That's the way the owner thinks, period. And if you don't think like that, you'll never do the stuff that's necessary to change your life. You'll be thinking that it's because some people are blessed and other people aren't. I mean, it's foolishness. You control your life, right? Now, there's outside things that we can't control, right? And those are what we call spontaneous events. But if you look over the long term, right? So let's say, I'm 200 pounds overweight, and I'm on a diet. I'm working out. I'm eating healthy. Now I lose, 150 pounds. And let's say all of a sudden, something happens. I get a clogged artery or something, and then all of a sudden I gain this massive amount of weight because some type of event happens, right? That's life. That's life. But you control whether or not you keep eating healthy, you keep exercising, and if you stay on that path, eventually you'll be back skinny. You'll be back down to your healthy weight. So you still control. There are spontaneous events that happen in people's lives, that happen in your life. But if you maintain this idea that ultimately, in the long run, I'm controlling my life, and what my life becomes is me, then you'll have the power to have whatever that you want and be a successful producer. Now, the worker, I am who I am. I was born who I am. So you hear a lot of workers talk that stuff. Just is what it is, man. Just who I am. They could be poor, struggling. Man, that's just who I am. If they're a type person that get angry and always beating people up or hurting people, man, that's just who I am, man. It's just the way I am. You see? Be very, very careful when you start hearing that, and if you're saying that to yourself, because it's not true. This is the reality. The owner knows this. I am whoever I imagine myself to be. If I want to be, do, or have something else, I just need to imagine myself as that. So we really are just what we imagine. It doesn't really exist. So a person may imagine to themselves like, man, I'm just a lonely worker. I'm not a rich business owner. I'll never be a rich music producer, a successful music producer. That's not me. That's not who I am. I'm a worker. I'm stupid. That's just who I am. I was born with this learning disability. See, they think that's who they are, but that's who they're imagining themselves to be. Or you have a guy who's not good with women. Man, women don't like me. That's just who I am, man. I've never been good with women. That's just who I am. No, that's who you're imagining yourself to be. You can imagine yourself to be Rico Suave, looking good, feeling good. And when you start to imagine yourself as that, you start to work out, you start to do things to conversate with women better, you'll become a different person. So we really are just what we imagine. But the problem is we started imagining ourselves when we were kids based upon the feedback that our parents gave us. So they created this self-identity in ourselves. And you say, well, this is who I am. But you're only saying that because when you were a kid, that's what you thought you were based upon what your parents and people around you told you. But that's not who you are. You can imagine yourself to be anything you want to be. So if you imagine yourself to be a top producer, you will become a top producer. Trust me. That's the way it works. The power is in the imagination. So that's the difference between the owner. The worker thinks they are who they are. The owner knows I'm whoever I imagine myself to be. If I wanted to be a fighter, a boxer tomorrow, I'll imagine myself as a boxer, and I'll start taking those actions, and I'll become one. I'm not who I am. I'm not born who I am. I become who I am, and that's whoever I choose to become. Very important. But the worker also, you'll hear them say this a lot. People aren't giving me an opportunity, right? You ever heard that? The owner mindset is I create the opportunities. See, that's the difference. See, the owner creates the opportunity. The worker is always going, man, why don't somebody give me an opportunity, man? And you see that with music producers a lot. Man, somebody just give me an opportunity, man. I'm going to the labels, man. They just give me. I'm looking for artists, man. I just think nobody's giving me an opportunity. I can't get an opportunity. See, that's a worker, because the worker is looking for an opportunity to work. The owner is saying, you know what? I create the opportunities. I'm going to create opportunities for artists to be able to get beats for me. I'm going to create the opportunities for me to make more income with my music. I'm going to create the opportunity using the tools and technology and the ideas that I have in my brain. I'll create this opportunity. In fact, I'm going to create opportunities for others. I'm going to create opportunities for engineers because I own a music production company. We need our beats mixed. And we're making a lot of money, so I'm going to create opportunities for engineers to mix my beats. I'm going to create opportunities for assistants. I'm going to create opportunities for an accountant because I need my money. I'm making so much money, I need an accountant. So I'm creating an opportunity for an accountant. See, you create the opportunities as the owner. The worker's always looking for an opportunity. That's the difference. So it doesn't matter if there's no opportunities available. I'm creating them anyway. So I'm always in a perpetual state of success because there's always opportunity that I can create. Because if one doesn't exist, I'll create it. You see? That's the very fundamental difference. Now we're going to talk about how workers and owners think about education. Very, very important. Very, very important. The worker, they think the purpose of education is to get a job. So once I have a job, I can quit educating myself. The owner, they say the purpose of education is to keep growing and developing myself and my potential. I never stop educating myself, no matter how successful I become. So I'm always reading books, I'm listening to audiobooks, going through courses like this, because the purpose of the education isn't so I can just get a job. That's why you see people that go to college and that's it. They get a job and that's all they stop there, right? They work and that's it. That's why people all the time, they'll see me reading books. Like if I go to a Starbucks or something and I read a book, they always come to me and they're like, oh, you're in school. No, I'm not in school. Why would I don't have to be in school to educate myself. I educate myself because I never want to stop growing and developing. I'm an owner, right? And I want to reach my highest potential as a music producer. So immediately I know that's a worker, because they're like, well, why would you be educating yourself unless you're in school so you can get a job somewhere? You see, that's the difference. A worker, learning is being able to read something and repeat it back verbally. So you see this all the time, especially when I deal with the work I deal with producers. I'll see them, they'll say, oh, I know that already. Oh yeah, what else you got? I say, well, are you doing it? No, I already know that though. See, because in their mind, they've been programmed, they're a worker. They think learning is being able to read something or hear something and repeat it back verbally. So if I said, here's how you do Facebook ads, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I know that, I gotta do Facebook ads. Yeah, here's how I do it. But they're not actually doing it. They think that, so we keep gathering more information, trying to learn, and it's not working. We're not seeing success because that's not true learning. We've been programmed that way to pass a test. So they say, hey, learn this and regurgitate it, repeat it, and you get an A. But that's not how life works. See, to an owner, learning is continually applying what I learned, quote unquote, and getting real world results. So the process of learning doesn't end at first hearing the information. The process of learning is when I apply it to the real world and I get results and feedback back. That's when I have learned. So for example, I'll give you an example that you can clearly see. You're a music producer, right? You have to learn your software, whatever software you're using. Now, you could have read the manual. Imagine if you just read the manual or you saw a video on how to make beats. You could tell somebody, yeah, man, you gotta, hit the notes like this. You have to, use the C major chord. You have to use the drum and put your drums in and load your drum samples. You have to make a pattern, a drum pattern. See, I can talk about it, but when it's time to make a beat, that person ain't gonna be able to make no beat, and it's gonna be trash because they didn't learn it. See, they heard it and regurgitated how to do something. They regurgitated it. But the learning is when you sit down and you start making that beat. You start clicking around the software. You start hitting those keys. And then you keep doing it over and over again. You get better and better. That's the process of actually learning. Learning isn't being able to hear something and repeat it. Very important that you understand that, especially going through this course, going through this lesson series. You're going to understand that the results aren't in being able to verbally say, I know this, and argue with somebody back and forth. Now it's in applying this stuff. The worker mentality is getting an education means getting a certificate from college and or a formal institution. So you talk to people and say, hey, I'm getting an education. Or do you have your education? Are you educated? They're talking about someone who has a certificate from a college. I've never got a certificate from any college or nothing like that. So they would see me as uneducated. I'm not an educated person, right? An owner, they understand that getting an education, in their world, getting education is finding people who have done what I'm trying to do and read their books, go to their lectures, ask them questions, and go devour their information. So to me, getting an education is, okay, I want to lose weight. I'm not going to go to school and get a degree and losing weight. I'm going to go find a personal trainer who's lost weight, who's got the muscles that I want. And then I'm going to do, they already done what I'm trying to do. I'm going to, if he says, hey, here's a book that I wrote, I'm going to read the book. Okay, he's telling me what to do. If he says I'm having a lecture on, health in the body, I'm going to go to that. I'm going to start asking them questions. And I'm going to devour the information that they're giving me. and I'm going to apply that information. That's getting an education to me. That's getting an education to an owner. We don't care about a degree or certificate. What we're trying to do is find out people who've done it, who got the results, and then go mimic and go model what it is that they've done. That's a completely different way of looking at stuff. I don't give a damn about a degree or nothing crazy like that. And if you got one, that's fine. But ultimately, that's not what an education is. It's not the end all be all. It's finding people who have done what you're trying to do. That's real practical, real world stuff right there. Now, for some stuff, you need to go to school. Like if you're a doctor, you're a brain surgeon, that don't mean that education is not school. School has an education too, but that's not the end all be all. And even after you get your degree, you're going to have to work with an actual brain surgeon who actually does it already, and you're going to have to learn from them, right? So school does play a role in education. But what I'm saying is that as an owner, that's not what I'm looking for. When I start doing real estate and want to make millions of dollars in real estate, I don't care about going to no school. I'm going to find a real estate investor who made millions of dollars starting from scratch, and I'm going to go learn to them. You understand? So that's the way I think about education. It has to be able to produce the results that I'm looking for. The shift. So owner versus workers when it comes to people. So worker. Most people are ignorant, incompetent, and stupid. So the average worker thinks this about people subconsciously, right? Because growing up, that's mostly people talk about other people. And we talk about how stupid they are, or you'll see a story of, such and such blew $100 million contract and now he's broke. Oh, he's so stupid, or he's ignorant. See, and that's how we think. We think people are ignorant, stupid, and incompetent. That's how workers think. That's how they view people. And that's part of the reason why they'll never be able to grow successful, because you need other people to be successful. You need customers, you need workers, you need people to work with you, you need partners, right? Here's how an owner thinks. Most people are good people who have great potential, but have been miseducated, right? So that's how a owner thinks. That, hey, your average person is a good person, man. Regardless of what the media tells me, all that stuff, we have a perception of people being good and they have potential, but a lot of people have been miseducated. They haven't been taught this stuff right here. So they just grow up with their surroundings and the people around them, and they just take on that mentality. And school doesn't teach them and prepare them for the real world and with these concepts that we're learning today. So people are good people. They're just, they've just been miseducated. The worker, they look at people's values based on how many degrees they have. So that's why a lot of times, and that's because they're trained that way, right? Because if I'm at a job and it says, hey, you got to have a bachelor's degree, right? You have to have a master's degree to work this or apply for this, which is completely stupid, right? But they do that. The society set that way because they want you to go to college, right? And I'm not mad at that system. But the owner, he thinks like this. People's value is based on their willingness to listen, learn, and apply. That's it. So if you can come to me and say, okay, you need to hire somebody for this position, right? And they say, okay, this person has 10 degrees in everything that you're looking to do. And I talk to that person, and they're telling me, yeah, well, I think this and I know this, and well, we should do it this way. And I go, okay. But I'll take a person, they say, man, this person just graduated high school. And I'll talk to them and say, man, listen, man, I'm ready to learn. Whatever you want to teach me, show me. I'll get it done. I'll execute. I'm willing to learn whatever it is. I don't know much about this, but you can show me what it is you want me to do, train me, and I'll go do it. And if I don't know the answer, I'll go find the answer and see if it's the one that you like and if it works. But I'm ready and I'm open to whatever it is you have to tell me and whatever it is you want to train me. Who am I going to hire? See, if you're smart, I'm hiring that guy. That guy with 10 master's degrees, he think he know everything already. He's already trying to show that, he's not going to be completely open, or she's not going to be completely open to the way we do things here. And so I want that hungry person, willingness to listen, learn, and apply, because they're going to go much further. And that goes against what most people think, right? Worker, rich people are greedy, mean, arrogant assholes, right? So you had your average worker, because they don't ever see themselves being rich. They don't see that rich people are just people with money in their bank accounts, right? They have a large sum of money in their bank accounts. That's it, But it's how owner thinks about rich people. Owner thinks rich people are just like everyone else with more money in their bank account. That's it. We are all human. A person's character isn't determined by their bank account. There are awesomely dope rich people. There are awesomely dope poor people, financially poor people, I should say. And there are asshole rich people, and there are asshole poor people. Money has nothing to do with it, okay? So that's a crazy belief that workers have, is that the money in your bank account determines the type of person you are, because we're trained that way. It has nothing to do with it, right? It's just how much money in your bank account. That person has more freedom. Yeah, you probably enjoy life a lot more, but that doesn't make them greedy or arrogant. Most rich people I know are nicest people in the world. I mean, all my friends that are rich are nice. They're cool. You know, they're giving, you know. So, I mean, and I got some family members that don't have much money and they're nice and giving, you know. Love, I mean, just people that I just love dearly. They don't have much money, but they're just good people, you know. People are people. So we gotta make sure in our minds we're not creating this world where rich people are greedy, because that keeps us impoverished. We'll never become something that we think is bad. So if you think that rich people are greedy, arrogant, assholes, then you'll never become that. All right? You'll never allow yourself to become successful in that area. Now we're going to deal with the feelings, right? Quote unquote emotions. Now it's time to become aware of the daily emotions that hold you back. Now emotions matter. Let's talk about this really quickly. Science has proven that we feel at a deep level on a consistent basis creates our destiny. So whatever we feel at a deep level on a consistent basis day to day, that's going to create our destiny and what our lives turn out. So workers have a completely different emotional pattern than owners. If you have your worker emotional pattern installed, you will fail as a music producer every single time. Okay? Now, the sad part is you won't even realize what's happening. You'll just continue to struggle forever. Now, let's become aware of the worker emotional patterns, then transform them into a successful owner emotional pattern. The shift, owner versus workers emotions. The worker feels anger/negative feelings when thinking about capitalism, the economy, and how unfair the wealth distribution is in the world. The owner feels excited when thinking about all the opportunities they have to create in this world thanks to capitalism, the economy, and infinite resources and ideas the universe has bestowed upon us. So it goes back to the worker thinking that things are limited, money's limited, capitalism is bad, you know, selling things is capitalism while people are poor. The owner is like, hey man, I'm excited that, you know, I have the opportunity to create in this world. I know the universe is infinite. The universe gave an infinite amount of resources and ideas to us. I mean, we're selling beats on the internet. I mean, somebody came up with the idea. This is an idea using technology, and somebody then came up with the idea to create automated beat store players like Airbit and BeatStars. Right? Like, you got to be excited about these opportunities. The worker, they're just a worker, right? They just always thinking and feeling negative about things because they don't have a reason to really live, because they just go to work and come home. You know? Well, the owner is like, I'm trying to create in this world. So that's the difference. You know? So they're excited about the economy and the infinite resources that's out there. And that's what you want to feel on a daily basis. The worker generally in a 24-hour period, at some point they're going to feel afraid/fear when imagining themselves successful in the top of their field, because people will judge them and potentially hate/harm them. This is very deep. You may have this in you. When you think, you may say to yourself, you know what, man, I want to be a successful producer, get my music out there and really be a super producer. But then when you start to think about it, you start to feel this fear, right? You feel afraid. Because the worker is programmed. See, the workers, when you're around a bunch of workers, you realize that they're always talking bad about the people that's successful, talking bad about the boss, hating on oh, why he get the promotion, or why she get the promotion, or that boss, she don't know nothing, they stupid. So when workers gather in this break room, you'll notice they're always talking negative about more successful people. That's generally the way it works. So then you're around all these workers, and they're talking bad about the people who are at the top of the field. And so you then have a fear of becoming at the top, because you know these workers are going to be talking bad about you. So that's how workers generally feel. Now the owner is completely different. The owner feels inspired when imagining themselves successful at the top of their field, because they think about all the people they impact positively and how they will love them and show appreciation. So real life example, man, like me being successful as a music producer and would live off beats and all these things, man, I'll get stopped in the street all the time. Like I'll be having coffee and a guy walk up to me and say, hey man, I watch all your videos, you changed my life. See, I'm getting love and appreciation. So I get excited knowing that I'm really impacting people's lives. Like all these producers around the whole world who are searching for this information and had no way out. Like I'm positively impacting these people. The artists that are looking for music, like, yo man, I can't quite find my sound, or I'm looking for a place where I can get beats at an affordable rate. And I've been looking and you match my sound. You really help me express myself through words and through my songwriting. Like I really found my passion. I thank you. See, we feel inspired because that's what we think about when we think about becoming a top producer. We're like, look at all the people that I'm going to impact, inspire, and they're going to show me love and appreciation. See, the worker always thinks about the hate because they're surrounded by people who hate on more successful people. So you got to understand that, the difference. Now the worker also feels, remember these are feelings, they feel guilty about having excess money because they feel money is the root of all evil. So they feel like, yo, money is evil, loving money is evil, I don't want this stuff, and which is insanity. Money is just money, like it's fine. But that's how the worker feels. They feel guilty about it. The owner feels actually exhilaration about having lots of money because they feel money is the key to living the life of their dreams, helping their loved ones and being happy. So look at that. That's a very big shift between a person who feels like this thing is evil and a person who feels like, you know what? This is the key to, I can help my family. I can buy my mom a house. I can be in the studio. I can have the studio of my dreams, make the greatest music ever when I have a lot of money. I'm not worried about paying bills, and I can just buy my studio equipment. I can imagine how much better your music would be if you was able to just buy all the sounds you ever wanted, all the dope equipment and the best speakers, and help it. That will make you happy. So the owner feels great about having excess money, while the worker, he feels guilty about it. The worker feels tired when working because deep down they know it's making someone else rich, not themselves. So you'll notice a lot of workers when they get home like, ooh, I'm exhausted and et cetera, et cetera. That's because in their internal process, they know that they got to get up and do it again tomorrow. And it didn't make them wealthy or richer. They didn't really build anything that's for them. They just trade their time for money. So they're always feeling tired, not just physically tired, but mentally tired because they really weren't inspired while they were working. The owner feels energetic when working because they know deep down inside it's going to lead to their financial freedom and living their dreams. So when you're working on your music production business, the reason why you can be up, you got the energy all night, like, man, I'm not going to bed. I haven't slept in 2 days. I've just been working on this because it's leading to even more freedom for yourself, more money for yourself, more ability to sell more beats and able to make better beats and buy things that you've always wanted. See, when you're working for that reason, you get energized to work. When you're working for just to survive and you're making someone else rich, what happens? You're like, why am I doing this, right? You don't feel that energy anymore. Workers generally feel stressed about the thought of having to go to work. You ever heard people like, thank goodness it's Friday, right? They thank goodness it's Friday because they're like, oh, I'm tired of work. And then Sunday night, they're like, oh man, I gotta go to work tomorrow. That's generally how a worker thinks. Oh man, I gotta go to work tomorrow. How many times you heard that growing up, right? The owner's the exact opposite. You're going to feel excited about the thought of getting back to work because all the new ideas they can implement and to take to their business further. So like, let's say if I take a vacation for like 3 or 4 days, right? I'm feeling good. I don't touch the computer. I don't work at all. I'm feeling rejuvenized. But that last day, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get to my, get back to business, man, because I got all these new ideas that I can implement, new ways of growing and new ways of serving the customers. So it's like, I can't wait to get back to work. Whereas the worker is like, man, I'm dreading getting back to work. You see, that's a very, very important difference and distinction. Very important. Another thing is the worker feels pessimistic about the future. The world is getting worse. It's coming to an end. People are crazy now. You hear that crap all the time from workers, right? The world is getting, and you may be thinking that crap yourself. Now you know that's going to hold you back. They think the world is getting worse. Like, oh, before it was good. Now come on. Now the owner is completely different. The owner feels optimistic about the future. The world is getting better. With technology, there's more opportunity than ever before. There's more unity than ever before, more diversity than ever before. People are more enlightened now. So if you really open your eyes, that's really what the world we live in now. It's getting better, right? I mean, with technology, there's more opportunity than ever. Now we're reaching people all around the world. Live Off Beach is impacting the lives of people all over the world in countries I didn't even know existed. There's unity. There's more diversity. I mean, if you look at the Live Off Beach community, we got white, black, Asian. We got male, female, tall, short, people, all walks of life, all over the world, unifying over music, over ideas, over shared passions and ideas. This is incredible time. People are more enlightened. I mean, look at the movie The Secret. That was a mainstream movie about the law of attraction, and people are becoming more aware. Like, yo, I want to be positive. I want a law of attraction, positive energy. Like, this is the best time ever to be on this planet. And you got workers running around talking about, oh man, the world is crazy, man, because they're watching the news, which is really the olds. And the news finds the worst stories to put on there. See, owners would never sit up and watch the news because they know it's just a bunch of crap. They put that on there to make you feel fear and pessimistic. And then they get you to buy stuff, right? Key distinctions. So the next thing we got to get into, we're going to wrap this up soon. I know your brain is fried. But the next thing we're getting into is the habits. Now you know the thoughts that you need to have as an owner, right? And the ones you need to stop having as a worker. And you know the emotions, the feelings that you need to have as an owner. And then when you put that together, your thoughts is how you feel. Now, these are the habits that you want to have as an owner. Now, our habits are the #1 factor to creating our physical reality. And I heard this quote and I loved it. It said, "We are what we continually do." I love that quote. Habits create our physical reality, right? So habits are actions we do on a daily basis over and over. These habit patterns are what shape our life over time and ultimately are responsible for our success or failure in any area of our life. So whatever we consistently do over time, our habits are going to show the result over time. What I mean by that is, if let's say I'm 180 pounds, right? Now, if I continue to eat cupcakes day after day, I have a habit of eating cupcakes and not working out, then maybe not in one day it's not going to show. But over time, in the next year, 2 years, you're going to see I have this big old belly, I'm energy, you probably got diabetes, right? As opposed to another habit. Let's say I get up, I eat salad, and I run 2 miles every day. If we started off with the same weight, the same everything, my habits, you know what I would look like in a year, and you know what the person eating cupcakes and sitting on the couch all day, what they're going to look like. That's because you're looking at not what they look like now, you're looking at the habits, and those habits are leading to a certain result, and you know the outcome of those results, right? Here's what a lot of people don't realize. Habit patterns are passed down to us from our parents, friends, and whoever else we spend a lot of time with growing up. Some of these habits are great for success, some are detrimental. The habits that make a successful worker are completely different than the habits that make a successful owner. So here are the habits that you need to stop doing and the habits you need to incorporate into your life now. So the worker wakes up, gets ready for work, goes to work. That's how the worker operates. And it's a treadmill of life. Now the owner, they wake up an hour earlier than they need to. So let's say if you had to, start your meeting or start your day at 8, they would wake up, and then you had to wake up at 7:30 to get in the shower and all that. They would wake up at 6:30. So whatever time you need to, you need to wake up, they wake up an hour earlier than that. Why? Because now this is their time where they read their life vision. So the first thing you do when you wake up is you're going to read your life vision. If you don't have one, you know that you're a worker, because the worker don't need a life vision. They just need to keep working. So they have a life vision. You're going to read your goals, and then you're going to spend at least 10 minutes in meditation, such as visualizing your dreams, and then you get ready for work, and then you go to work, whatever. And going to work just means if you got to go to the studio or go to work in your business, get online, and then start work. I meditate for 30 minutes, right? Sometimes an hour, depending on how early I got up. But these habits are very important. These are the habits for growth that create success, and they transform your life. Now, there's been so much research and so many doctors and scientists proving this. So you can argue with me if you want to. That's what owners do, and that's the biggest difference than a worker and an owner that makes success. So if you're a music producer, you say, I want to be a successful music producer, I want to be a millionaire music producer, all that stuff. You got to have those habits. Get up early you need to, read your life vision, and if you don't have one, I'm going to help you create one throughout this lesson series. and goals. And in fact, go get the in your membership, go download the Secrets of the Six-Figure Producer. If you don't have a life vision and goals, go get that and download that audio program. It's going to show you how to create a life vision and create goals for yourself. And then, you know, you're going to spend that at least 10 minutes, at least, in meditation and visualizing, seeing yourself as the super producer that you want to become, right? And you do that first, and then you start your day off. Your day will be completely different than it would be if you just keep waking up, getting ready, go to work, and go home, wake up, get ready, go to work, go home, sleep, right? Now, the worker dedicates less than 1 hour per day educating themselves on how to develop themselves in any area of life. So if you want to become better at business, so the worker will not be watching this video, right? If they're just a lifelong worker, they ain't watching this. They ain't trying to develop themselves in no area. They ain't gonna educate themselves. They're gonna watch TV for that hour. Why would they dedicate to learning something? It ain't gonna make them more money, right? So an owner dedicates at least 1 hour per day in educating themselves on something that will improve their results. So how am I gonna make more money in my business? How am I gonna sell more beats? I have to learn something new. Let me go learn this traffic. You know, I just saw this course on getting traffic as a beats on Instagram. I'm gonna go learn that. I just learned this, you know, new. I'm gonna educate myself on how to, you know, develop my mentality, or develop my character more discipline. There's a book called, you know, The Way of the SEAL, and they're teaching me how the Navy SEAL discipline themselves. And let me, you know, what if I could discipline like that, you know, like a Navy SEAL? I'll probably be even 10 times better at music production than I am now. So that's how an owner thinks. So I dedicate at least 1 hour per day to educate yourself on something that will improve your results. Simple. The worker rarely plans, schedule their time in the future and or track results. They never like, hey, or rarely they're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, and do it in advance, and then track each day what the results are. You know, how much they spent, how much they made, what did I do for, you know, a couple hours, how many hours of exercise. Now the owner plans, schedule at least 2 weeks in advance, and religiously tracks results in whatever goal they are pursuing. So if you want to make a music production business, you should be tracking how many beat sales you get every day, how many beat plays, how many signups, etc. Worker doesn't have a written down big vision for their life. Period. They don't have one. You ask any worker that's just working, they ain't got one. Owner has a written down clear vision for what they want to be, do, have in their lifetime. They're always thinking big. The worker takes action mostly on impulse for immediate gratification. The owner resists instant urges to take action before seeing the long-term effects this one action can have over time. We all get impulses and urges. So like the impulse, you see a pack of donuts, is to eat these donuts, right? Now, if you just go on your urge, you just pick them up and eat them because your mouth is salivating. It's like, come on, the body wants it. Now, the other option is to look back and say, you know what? I feel these urges, but if I eat this pack of donuts, and what is this going to do to me in the long term? Man, I'm going to grow a belly. I can develop diabetes. I can develop diseases. You know what? I'm going to set this box of donuts down. I'll pass. I'm going to eat some broccoli, right? Because now the urges are there for both of us, but they're resisting that, and see what happens in the long term. So like, for example, working on your music production business, right? Or being in the studio working on your beats, or tracking out your music, or something that you may feel like, I don't feel like doing this. I feel like going to go do this, hanging out with my friends at the club or whatever. And you resist that urge. Say, you know what happens over time if I continue to do that? Or what happens over time if I continue to do this? And so the owner thinks like that. The workers, they just keep going off impulse. I see this, I want to buy it, let me buy it. The owner thinks, do I really need this? What happens over time if I spend this money? You see the difference? So this is what you have to develop if you're going to be successful as a music producer in music production business. The worker works for a specified amount of hours, then goes home. I see that all the time with producers who like, I'm putting in hours. It don't matter. Okay, that's a worker mentality. The owner works until they get the job done, regardless if it takes 48 minutes or 48 hours. It's like, hey, I got to do this to build my music production business, and this has to get done. And we gotta put up ads for Facebook. I don't care if it take me 48 minutes or 48 hours. I'm not gonna stop until I get the job done, because I'm not gonna get no results by time. That's the problem. You've been thinking, workers thinking time because they get paid on how many hours they work. So they look at it like, okay, 8 hours, okay, I'm cool, I'm done. Where the owner's like, well, it don't matter how long I work on this. If it ain't done, I'm not gonna get the result. If these ads ain't out, if these beats ain't up, I ain't gonna make no money, regardless of whether it takes me 2 minutes or 2 hours. So I need to get the job done. See, the worker is not worried about getting the job done. They worry about getting enough done to where the owner don't get mad, the boss don't get mad, and they can still keep their job and come back tomorrow and do it, or leave it for somebody else to do, most likely. Now here's the conclusion, right? So now let's put it all together to create the lasting change, right? So now you know the thoughts of an owner and a worker, you know the feelings, and you know the habits that you need to implement. Now, because what we're dealing with is you, okay? Now, you can never create a successful music production business unless you have these habits, thoughts, feelings, and habits of an owner. Too many times we focus on the thing. We focus on, now with these habits though, this is what's dope. You'll be successful in anything you try to create. You can go create a restaurant and you'll be successful. You have the most successful restaurant. You can go into real estate and you'll be a successful real estate investor. Why? Because you are going to be the success. The way you think, feel, and act is the success. And anything you bring those thoughts, feelings, and actions to will also become successful, right? It's like just you're a music producer. Think about making a beat, right? I can give the drum pads, I can give the sounds, the software to somebody else, and they try to make a beat and it comes out garbage. And then you make the beat and it's fire. You make a beat with the same sound, same everything, but it's a banger. What's the difference? Because it's you're bringing to the beat. You're bringing your skills and your talent and who you are to that beat. And it wasn't the tools. So creating a music production business, you got the same Airbnb account. You can have the Facebook. You can have ads. You can have all that. But it's about you. Do you have these success habits? And you bring these thoughts, feelings, and actions to the business world, to your music production business world. And that's what's going to create success. It's not the tools. It's the person. Just like it's not the tools that make the beat, it's not the tools that make the business. It's these things that do it. So let's talk about lasting change. Now, by now, you should be aware of how you have been thinking, feeling, and behaving like a worker while trying to be an owner. So you're trying to own this music production business, but you still have thoughts and feelings and actions that are still left behind from a worker. Of course, you got some that are you've already changed and are like an owner, but the ones that are like the workers are the ones that's holding you back. And when we can shave those and become a complete owner, you'll take off like a rocket. Okay. Now here's the key. The key to change is repetition. You take the exported list of the owner versus worker, print it out, and put it on your wall. And then now you're gonna start to catch yourself when you're thinking, you're feeling, or you're acting like a worker. Okay? And then you're going to be able to say, am I thinking like an owner? And you read the stuff that you should be thinking every day as an owner. You start to feel those emotions. You say, this is what I should be feeling as an owner. And you see that every day. And you start to do those things. Wake up early in the morning like an owner. And you start to create those habits. Meditate. Reading your vision every morning. And believe me, your habits, your actions are going to change. And your life and your music production business is going to change rapidly. Okay? You're going to become a different person. You're going to become a successful owner, okay, and not a worker. So you must do this. Now, what I want you to do is pat yourself on the back because you are joining an elite group of people who think, feel, and behave like an owner. Ultimately, it's about taking ownership of your life so you can have whatever you desire in this world without limitation. So that's ultimately what this is about. Right? This change from worker to owner is a change from a limited life, a limited belief, a limited money, limited income, limited everything, to an unlimited life, to where you know you can think, feel, and be, and do, and have anything that you want in this world, including become a successful producer. And you know it at deep levels to the point where you actually do it and become it, because we can know it on the surface mind, but it's not really in our hearts and our belief systems and our subconscious. And what will happen is we will still act out the unsuccessful self, the unsuccessful actions and thoughts, feelings, and habits, because we really don't believe we can be what we're dreaming about. And so by changing these things, you're going to start to feel at a deeper level that you can do it. You're going to see the world differently. You're going to act differently. You're going to be, people are going to look at you and go, man, you're completely different. Like, man, you're so successful. You're so lucky, right? And they're like, no, I'm not lucky. You changed the way that you were thinking, feeling, and acting. So this is very important stuff here. This is the work, and this isn't something like I said, you're going to find just out there somewhere. This is very high level, the highest level of success material that, like I said, you're not going to just find out there in a book somewhere. No, you're getting a life-changing lesson here, and I want you to be aware of that. This is from decades of my own experience and study. I lived with Buddhist monks for months in the forest, meditating. I've studied under the masters of business, the masters of self-development. It's all that, and then applying it to my own life and being able to give you from experience. This right here is the key. And you become this owner that we're talking about in here, and then you'll be successful at every endeavor that you go after. Okay, and if you don't recognize that worker in yourself, and you still think, act, and behave and feel like a worker, no matter what you try, you're going to fail, because the habits and thoughts, feelings, and actions of a worker cannot create success in the world of an owner. And that means creating your income from property, not from trading your time for money. Two different worlds. They can't coexist together. You have to either be one or the other. Okay? Final thoughts. So my final words of wisdom is, this is a journey you're on to become a successful music producer. Now, at first we were just going to put lessons about, how to sell beats on stuff. And I said, after reading all the comments from producers telling about their dreams in the Facebook group, I said, man, I know that I would be doing a disservice if I didn't start with the foundational principles of who you are and how to really become successful. Because I can give you all the techniques and tactics in the world, and you're going to get those mechanics in this lesson series. But if I don't start you here, it doesn't matter what it is that I give you over there, it's not going to work, because the thoughts, feelings, and actions of a worker will never be successful in that world over there. And that's just the way it is. So pat yourself on the back. This is heavy stuff. This is deep stuff. And you may try to dismiss it. Then that means that you aren't ready. But I know that you're ready, because you're here. And take it from me, who's been sitting in your seat before, that this growth and development that you're getting from this worker versus owner's understanding is going to set the stage for success in your life for the rest of your life. And it also may come with some pain, because you may have realized that you wasted a lot of years with the worker mentality. And you can see why you struggled all this time, even though you may have the talent, you may have some of the know-how, you may have bought courses, but you just didn't understand why it still wasn't working out the way it's working for you, the way that you thought it should work, in the way you dreamed about. But now you can be set free. Thank you for listening to this. Very important. Now, this is the beginning. This is just the beginning. Don't think this is. We're doing lessons on building a 6-figure music production business from scratch. So you're gonna see all the technical stuff, the traffic, and all that stuff. But you got to start here with who you are and transforming that. And then as we transform that, and this is one of the only videos we're going to do on this. The next step is going right into music production business. So, but this is the foundation, the beginning. We're starting with you. After this, the next lesson is going to be starting with your business. We're going to start the music production with a 6-figure business. So we move through this kind of quickly. It's up to you to stay on this particular thing every day. Put it up on your wall and really focus and visualize and meditate on these thoughts and ideas that you learned in here. I believe in you. Stick with us, because this series is going to transform not just your music production business, but I believe it's going to transform your life. You'll never be the same again. And your music production business, because you're not the same, will never be the same. Because you're changed for the better, your music production business will be a reflection of what you are. And now you're becoming a great, successful, wealthy owner in your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So your music production business will reflect that. And we will give you the tools and the lessons in order for you to build that as well.